Hello, hello, everyone. It's that time again, webinar time. I'm so excited to have everyone here. I've opened up the chat, so whoever's in here, please go ahead and start writing in the chat. You know, we absolutely love when you interact with us in the chat. So feel free to say hi, say anything you want to tell us where you're from, where you're at, some fun facts. We'll do that for a little bit, just for like 1 minute, just so that we can wait for a few more folks to join in on us. So while we're waiting for, hi from Denmark, Laura, Lassie, hey. Hopefully I pronounced your name correctly. But while we're still waiting on a few more folks to join, please know that this webinar is going to be recorded and we will have it posted to our YouTube channel as well. For those of you who are here, you're also going to get a recording sent to you via email. Again, we encourage you to talk to us in the chat, interact with us, show us some love. We are going to have a live Q&A session at the end of the webinar, but if you'd like, you can write your questions in the Q&A section below. But like I said, we will have the Q&A at the end. All right, so I'm super thrilled to get this going. So let's start it now. I see quite a few of us has already joined. So let's just go ahead and start hopping in, because we really know the importance of elevating your business relationships with your buyers. So let's start with intros. My name is Helena, and I am the head of customer success here for SendSpark. And I am super honored to have this privilege to introduce to you this super knowledgeable trainer and go-to market consultant for Win Spectrum. Win Spectrum creates enablement programs for the full range of tech companies, all the way from startups to the biggest companies in the world, like Amazon Web Services. That's big. But our host also manages several outbound teams as their fractional leader. So he has a lot of perspective on what's working and what's not working with video prospecting right now. So I'm super happy to host him today and let him share his awesome formula for creating effective outbound video messages. So please meet Jesse Marseille.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much, Selena, for the introduction. Happy Friday. I hope this is a good way for you all to kick off your weekend. Video prospecting is one of the most fun ways to do prospecting and really connect with your buyers. So I love it, and the teams that I've been working with love it as well. But in the beginning, there is a little bit of maybe fear, maybe apprehension to get over. And I think one of the biggest things for folks that want to send videos is they kind of ask, well, what should I actually say when I'm sending these videos? And do I say the same thing to everybody? Do I do a custom message for every single person? And so the purpose of this webinar is basically to give everyone here a formula that you can take to write your own video scripts. And this formula I've designed over really the course of the last year, working with a range of outbound teams. And the idea with it is to combine the two best things about video, which number one is the fact that you can reach someone with a very live, personal representation of yourself and of your company. And then the other fact that you can basically make a scalable version of video that you can send out to tons of people. So the formula today is really going to combine those two things. I think one thing I want to just mention about today's session is I hope that it's really interactive. I'm going to be talking through this formula and giving everybody kind of my way of doing things, but at the same time, I'm going to be asking some questions from everyone, and would love to hear your perspective or any additional obstacles that you might be running into that I'm not capturing as we go through this. I definitely want to hear about all of that. So without further ado, let's get into this formula. Again, as I mentioned in the beginning, the best way to make prospecting videos is with a combination of personalized and templated video. And what's really cool is that you can actually stitch them together so that prospects get both in a single message. And so what's the difference between these two kind of formats for video? Well, a personalized video is a unique video that you send to one specific person. And the personalized section of your video should really be pretty short. This way it doesn't take too long to make. So I would say just a few sentences so that you can record a custom video for every single one of your prospects that you're reaching out to without taking up too much of your time. And so I use this section as basically an intro to your company and to yourself. And it's really there to get the prospect kind of warmed up to the idea of, okay, this person's reaching out to me specifically. This company looks pretty cool. Now I'm going to watch the rest of the video. And that's where the templated content comes in. So the templated content is the real value proposition that you are sharing with the prospect. And this part of the video, it could be 30 seconds long to even a couple minutes at the most. But what's cool about this is that you only have to record one perfect take of your templated video, because you will then be able to combine it with your personalized video and then share that with all of your prospects going forward. So what you'll find is that when you follow the steps that I'm going to go over today, you're going to feel a lot more confident because you've got a proven formula. It's worked for all of my BDRs and AEs, and it will scale because each video will only take a few seconds to record once you basically combine the personalized with the templated video. And before I move on to the next section, I'd love to hear in the chat, has anybody here today actually tried combining personalized and templated videos, or have folks really just done all personalized videos up until now? Let me know how you are using video in the chat. All right, so getting into this, okay, just personalized so far from Judy. Yeah, that's definitely what I hear from most people. Purely personalized from Jay as well. Mark, all personalized as well. All personalized. Okay, cool. Well, then this will be new to at least everybody that's in the chat, which is really good. So the personalized intro, I try to keep this as simple as possible. And there's basically 3 points that I like to hit in every single personalized intro. The opening line goes with the format, I see you are, meaning I literally start the sentence with the phrase, I see you are, and then I finish that sentence. And we'll get into what we finish it with in a second. But this is basically just an observation that you're making about your prospect. And this lets them know that you're talking to them specifically. The next sentence starts with others need. And so this is a description of what other people in the same role as your prospect need to do. So let's say you're selling to HR managers. You know, you say, I see you are an HR manager at Acme. Other HR managers need, and then you fill that in. And what you're doing is you're basically letting them see that you understand the industry, you understand what other people in their shoes are going through, right? And then you end this part of the video, you end the personalized section with a line that lets the prospect know the value that they are going to get from the next section, the templated section. And this is how these two sections kind of work together. So what we're going to do over the next few minutes is basically go through each of these layers of the personalized intro so that you can see some examples of how I would put it together. And then hopefully you can kind of take some notes here and think about how you would shape it to your specific value proposition and for your specific company. So in my example, in this first section for the I see you are part, I might say, hey, Jane, I see that you're the sales enablement manager at Acme. Congrats on playing such an important role at a fast growing company. So in this sentence, again, your goal is to show the prospect that you are talking specifically to them. So mentioning their exact title and where they work is really the most basic way to accomplish this, but that's totally sufficient, right? Because nobody else is going to have that name, that role, and that company. But my question to the audience here is, can anybody think of another way that you might prove to your prospect that your message is personalized? What else could you say to them instead of just their name and their role in their company that would let them know that you're talking only to them? There are some other methods aside from just saying their title. Can anyone think of one? What they've posted about on LinkedIn. Yes, exactly. That's perfect. Nice job, Phil. Yep, referencing what they wrote about, Francesca, exactly. Checking their social media in general. Yeah. Yep. Nice, Bobby. Exactly. So if you want the process to take a little bit longer, you can go to their social media and you can find something that they posted about. You don't have to do that, but that's absolutely something you can do. Mark, that's also a really good point. Recent company news. So anything listed on their company LinkedIn or Crunchbase, congrats on the acquisition, congrats on the new product launch, whatever the case may be. That was perfect. Okay. So this second part of the video, this is something that I think we teach a little bit differently at WinSpectrum, and I think it adds something really powerful to each video. And so this is basically letting the prospect know that you understand what other people in their shoes are dealing with. And so in this case, I say, I know that enablement needs to show that their training programs help add revenue. So it can be nerve-wracking when your salespeople don't ramp up in time after onboarding. And so what am I accomplishing with this statement? Well, first of all, I'm showing that we understand the industry that other professionals that have their same job are basically dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And this builds credibility. It shows that we've done our research. We actually know something about our buyer. And in this case, I referenced a specific metric, and that would be ramp time, right? How long it takes to get their sellers ramped up. And that's a specific metric that enablement managers are evaluated on. So it shows that I know their job. And the second thing is we're beginning to highlight a problem that directly impacts our prospect, and it might remind them that this is something that they actually need to solve, right? We call this business pain, identifying the pain. So in my case, if the enablement manager isn't getting their sellers to ramp up fast enough, well, that means that maybe they're not doing their job as well as they could be, and kind of the clock is ticking on that. So it's a little bit of added pressure for them to think, I actually need to take a second look at this. Like, if my sellers aren't ramping up fast enough, that doesn't reflect too well on me. So if anyone wants to share in a chat a problem that their product or their company solves for their prospects, I'd love to hear it as an example, because then I can use that example as I go through the rest of these today. Cool. Okay, so the third section of your personalized intro. This is where we talk about the value or the impact that the rest of the video is going to bring to them, right? And so if you've ever had cold call training where you're booking meetings on the phone, your trainer might have told you, sell the meeting, not the solution. And that's really, really good advice. So it's the same thing for this video. In our personalized section of the video, the whole point is to sell the value of the next section, which is the templated section, right? They're going to invest some of their time in watching the rest of your video, which might be a minute or two long, and you want to let them know why it's going to be worth it for them. So in my example, I say, if you want more of your sellers to win deals sooner, then you will want to see the rest of this video. Let's see. So Bobby has got remote laptop returns. So I assume that's like for companies after employees leave the company, they need to return their laptop. And so Bobby's company has like a very efficient way to do that. That probably saves time and money for companies. So that's great. Let's see, Veloz CPQ lets salespeople quote complex services and products faster without errors. Okay, those are both really good. So these things save the two most important things to save in business, which are time and money. Oh, Hello Retriever. I used that at my last company, actually. That's how I returned my laptop. So awesome. Cool. All right, I will keep those in mind as we go through this and try to connect remote laptop returns and faster sales quotes to each section of this. Yep, Hello Retriever is awesome. They made it very easy. I just put my laptop in the box and put it in the mail, basically. That was it. Okay, so templated content. The templated content part is a bit longer, right? And I have experimented both in my own pitches and with the teams that I'm coaching with different lengths of templated content. And I have to say, it's not necessarily a one size fits all. This could be as short as 30 seconds or a minute. It could be as long as 5 minutes. I mean, I don't think there's actually a limit. You just have to remember that the longer you make your video, the more you are asking of your prospect to invest, right? But you can even set these up as almost like a mini webinar. And that's not what I'm going to do today. But my point is, this is your opportunity to say more about your company while you kind of have a captive audience and they're sort of fixated on the fact that a real person is actually talking to them. It's a good opportunity to get in details that you would never be able to get in with like just a cold call or a single email or something like that. And so the pieces that I like to put in my templated content in this specific order are data, a question, your solution, the differentiator about your product, the value of your product, and then your next steps or possibly your call to action. So I've experimented again with different lengths of the templated content and also different order here. And I am pretty conscientious about choosing this specific order for the templated content. And we'll kind of get into the reasons as we go into this. So data is what I like to start with. And the first sentence with your data here should present a specific number. It's always more powerful to say something like 76% of users instead of just saying most users or the majority of users. So if you can use a specific data point, it kind of, again, builds that credibility and people sort of fixate on that specific number. So it's good. And the other thing is that, oh, let's see, Bobby said, can you repeat that? Bobby, can I repeat what? Happy, you don't know what I need to repeat because you didn't hear it. I want to help you here, Bobby. So if I start from the beginning of this one, basically, oh, the topics. Yeah, sure. We can go back for a second here. Yeah, and feel free to like screen grab this so that you can see it again, so that you can use it again. So data, question, solution, differentiator, value, and next steps. So yeah, this order matters. And I've had this order jumbled around a few times, but I think that this is the best order. Right. So using a specific data point or specific statistic is important, but that specific data point needs to do something in particular. And what it needs to do is it needs to point back to the problem that you introduced in the personalized intro. So like if I could have an arrow from your data back to the personalized intro, I would. These things need to connect and they need to work together, right? And so in my example, I say, here's a scary fact about onboarding. 50% of employees who failed to hit their first performance goals had an incomplete onboarding experience. Okay, and so this was from a Gartner study. So if I was going to do this for laptop returns, right, it might be something like 43% of companies that do not use a laptop return vendor have delays in their technology being returned, which costs an average of $1,000 per employee. Something like that. I just made up that statistic, right? But you can imagine, like, yeah, if people aren't sending back their laptops, or maybe they just never send them back, they're like, screw this company, I'm keeping this MacBook. That obviously costs the company a lot of money. Even if the company like can legally send them a bill for it or something, it costs the company money just to send that bill and to deal with all of the administration of like chasing down that laptop or chasing them like down with some legal means or whatever it is. And so you want to be able to put a specific number to how often that happens and how much it costs the company, right? For Mark's example, with the sales quotes, it's like, yeah, there's going to be some percent that deals are smaller when you can't get some percentage that deals basically are shrunk when you can't get a quote to your buyer fast enough. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure the marketing department has some statistics on this that you can find, Mark, that you could put into the data section of your templated video. So and one question I want to ask the audience, and I've got some answers for this. Where can you find data that relates to your prospect's problem, right? Because most of us don't just have this on the top of our head. So if anyone wants to suggest some things into the chat of like where you might be able to find data that speaks to your prospect, that'd be great. Yeah, Zoom Info is great. If you have Zoom Info, that's awesome because they have a ton of that stuff. Buyer intent data, all of that. Also, Ask Marketing, Google it, ChatGPT, look for reports from consulting firms like Gartner, McKinsey, Forrester, that kind of thing. A lot of them have kind of reports that have a ton of these statistics about your buyer. Hoover's, that's good. Thank you, Felipe. That's awesome. Tons of suggestions. Okay, good. You all seem to know where to find the stats. So this second part is a question. The second part of your templated content is going to be a question. And we use this question to make the prospect wonder if the data that you just presented applies to them. Like you just said a statistic. Well, now we need to make sure that they're thinking like, oh, am I part of that statistic? Is my company part of that statistic? And so in my example, I say, are you sure that your sellers got everything they need from onboarding in order to be successful on their first day live in the field? So in this example, I'm trying to make this enablement person question whether they have really prepared their sellers to go live in the field. And I'm making them think about, oh, wow, how does this impact my company? So if anyone has some other examples of a question they might be able to ask their prospect, I'd love to see it in the chat. Think about like, what are your prospects responsible for delivering to their company? And what question could you ask them that would make them think, maybe I'm delivering, maybe I'm not. Another example like that I could just think of right now would be billing software. I worked with an SDR that was selling billing software to law firms. And so an example question is, how much time are your expensive lawyers spending on tracking and documenting their own hours? Right? If these lawyers cost like $400 an hour and they're spending 5 hours a week on that administration, well, that's several $1,000s right there just on figuring out how much their own billing is. Cool. So the templated content section 3 is your solution. It takes this long just to get into your solution, right? Because we're trying to start with pain, business pain for our prospect. So after we've made them feel a little bit worried about how they're doing in their job, we then want to come in and show how we can solve the problem, right? At least potentially solve the problem. And on a personal level, you want to show them how you can help them overcome any performance gaps that they might be dealing with and help them do a great job, right? So in my example, I say, since you must be busy with a million different things, we come in to run the group training and one-on-one coaching that your reps need. And notice, in this case, I said, like, I admit that they're super busy because I'm not trying to blame this enablement person, right? I'm not trying to make them wrong. Like the reality, and I know this because I work with tons of enablement managers, is they're asked to do so many different things on a day-to-day basis. They're supposed to build playbooks. They're supposed to do weekly check-ins. They're supposed to help with the messaging. They do so much administration. They're supposed to set up events, SKOs, all of this stuff. And so it's a ton to ask of these people to do all of that and do one-on-one coaching and actually run onboarding, right? So we come in and kind of take that off of their plates. And that's kind of the vibe that you want to have with your prospects is like, you want to be empathetic. Look, I know that you're super busy if you're talking to the salesperson, right? You're sending them sales quotes or the sales quoting software. It's like, I know you're super busy researching your prospect, hitting the phones, conducting demos. The last thing you need is to have to spend hours every week just putting together quotes. Our software makes that easier. For Hello Retriever, it's like, whether it's an HR person or whatever, an admin, it's like the last thing you want to do is be chasing down old laptops, right? You've already got a million different things that you're doing. So this then brings us to our differentiator. And by the time we get to the differentiator, your prospect is probably thinking, okay, it sounds like you have something that could help me, but why should I go with you in particular to help me, right? We've indicated there's a problem. They might actually resonate with the problem, but now they're thinking like, should I just go with the cheapest person that can provide the same solution? Why should I go with you? Okay. So we already know that this prospect is going to explore the market for other options. That's just part of the reality. And so this is an opportunity to plant a seed in their mind when they go and do that, to think, oh, this is what Jesse said in his video for me to look out for. And this is why these vendors aren't going to do as good of a job as Jesse, right? Or whatever your company is. So in my example, I say, We're different from other training firms because we focus on skills, not just concepts. Zoom lectures aren't enough to change behavior, so we use interactive exercises that make people do it the right way live, right? And so this is how you want to start to set yourself up as just appearing a little bit different than the other competitors in the space. So like in our training, we do a lot of sessions where the sellers actually have to practice their skills, fill out worksheets, do a lot of mock scenarios. It's not all just Zoom lectures and reading a playbook. So you want to think about how is your product different for the prospect than other products. And if anyone has an example of their differentiator that they want to throw into the chat, that would be awesome. So we're going to kind of keep all of these in mind for the question and answer part. Okay. Section 5 is getting into your value. We are finally at value. And so I think it's really easy to confuse value and the solution, or value and the differentiator. And they're not actually the same thing. A value is not just what you do. A value is the impact that this has on the company and on the prospect. So there's a difference, right? If you work for Hello Retriever and your company helps employees return laptops, that's what you do. You help employees return laptops. You help companies get their laptops back faster. But the value here is in how many dollars you save for them, or how much time you save, or for what kind of culture this creates at the company, that kind of thing, right? So like if I was selling soda and my soda had a red can and the competitor's soda had a blue can, I'm like, look, our soda is red. Yeah, that's different, but what is the value of that different color to the prospect? So here in my example, I say, this means that your enablement program actually impacts how your sellers perform in the field, and your sellers start giving customers the kind of experience they need to make buying decisions. Okay. This means is one of my favorite ways to start a value statement. It's like, what does it mean? Well, this is what it means. This is the impact that it has. We're letting them know what the future is going to look like if they incorporate our solution into their business. Okay. Oh, cool. We got a differentiator from Mark. Let's read this. Veloce. Thank you for helping me pronounce that. I think I said like Veloci or something. Veloce. CPQ is the only solution in the market that can configure quotes up to 50,000 line items in seconds using data that you already have in Salesforce. Yeah, so I imagine this is really, really helpful for, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm imagining like, man, I was coaching someone that worked for a construction company. It was project management software for construction companies. And he was saying, yeah, they have like tens of thousands of line items where it's like, here's the nails, here's the hammers that we need, here's the paint, here's the hours that these different specialists are going to need. So it's extremely complicated quotes. This kind of software could be really good. Yeah, and it's the only software that can do that many line items. And then for Bobby, we have a 95% return rate, better than 95% return rate, a custom built tracking portal and a custom API. That's awesome. 95% return rate. That's really good. That makes me wonder what's happening to those other laptops. It's like employees are just keeping them. That's awesome and terrible. Okay, cool. Yeah. Now for this Veloce example, right? When we're the only solution in the market that can configure quotes up to 50,000 line items, that is the differentiator, right? And I think that's like what I had asked for. But if we think about how do we turn that into a value statement, we want to take it to the next step, which is basically what are companies getting? What is the impact it has on companies and on the salespeople if they can generate these quotes that quickly with that much detail? So it's awesome that Veloce is the only one that can do this. It's a great differentiator. You're using specific data, right? 50,000 line items. We're the only ones that can do it. All of that's awesome. What is the impact then on the seller? And then for Bobby, right, this 95% return rate, I'm thinking of the same thing. It's like, what is the impact then that this has on the company? If we want to take that differentiator and take that solution and turn it into value, how does this impact the person that we're selling? How does this impact the company at large? And then let's take a look at Mark's example here. Think of an SASE company with hundreds of locations. Right. Good. Shorter sales cycles. Now we're talking. Reps are up and selling faster. Larger average deal size. Real-time metrics on profitability. Exactly. Good. Putting all of the tribal knowledge, all of the institutional knowledge on the sales team into a vault. That's exactly right. So Mark's, if we look in the chat here and we look at how Mark went from the differentiator to the value statement, that's textbook. That's perfect. That's like 10 out of 10, 100% how I would suggest we do this. Very cool. Yeah, Bobby, if you want to try to turn your differentiator about the return rate into a value statement, that would be awesome. But overall, yeah, thank you all so much for the participation. This is super cool. Okay, so for the next step or the call to action, I wrote, to help take your program to the next level, we're offering your team 3 skill assessments and coaching sessions for free so that we can help you identify and fix any performance gaps. So I do this call to action a little bit differently. I'm not actually asking them to do anything in my case, and you can. This isn't the only way to do it, but I'm giving them an offer, which I think is kind of the cool new way to do calls to action in 2023. Because, we've all heard in sales, you want to lead with value. And I think for a lot of people, when they like lead with value means like be a consultative seller, earn trust, establish credibility, give them insights. But that's not enough anymore in this market, right? Like everybody has all of the information accessible to them on Google or chat or whatever. And so just giving somebody some statistics, just sending them like a one-pager, it's not really going to move the needle that much. It doesn't tend to motivate people that much, I think, in 2023. That's what my teams observe at least. And so what has been really powerful is actually having this call to action be based on something that you are really going to give someone. It's some kind of offer. And if you're an account executive or an SDR, BDR, maybe you don't have the power to create some offer for your company all by yourself. But if you don't have one at your company, I would highly suggest that you talk to your manager and talk to your marketing team about what you can put together. And so, a really common example is like gift cards or that kind of thing. Those are okay. They have their time and place. I'm not saying they're like a terrible idea. My only issue with that is when you say like, I'm offering you a $50 meal voucher or whatever, a Starbucks gift card, you end up getting people that are taking meetings to get the meal voucher rather than like what your company actually could do for them. And so I think that this offer should be based on something that it should be related to the value that your company actually provides to these people. Okay, so putting it all together, how do we get our personalized intro and our templated content together here? Oh, I'll explain this in a second, but we just got Mark who said, for his next step offer, we will take your data and build a proof of value demonstration, proving out what we can do. I remind them that often our customers start with a POC and that it's a $5,000 fixed fee. Yeah, that's awesome. So if you can take their data and like basically demonstrate that you can create a quote super quickly from it, that's a perfect example, right? And then they go, wow, if they could do it this quickly, if Veloce could do it this quickly with just this data that we presented right now, what effect would that have in aggregate on the rest of our team if our entire revenue function was using this tool? So that's a super good example. Okay. So this final part here is how do we put together our personalized and our templated portions of the video? Well, SendSpark, our lovely hosts today, they have made this extremely easy. And this is one of the reasons I love working with SendSpark, because from directly within the Chrome extension, you can basically just stitch together your personalized intro and the templated section like instantly. And so as you're going through LinkedIn and you're looking at your different prospects, you basically just have your templated section sitting in your library. And then when you get to a prospect that you want to send a video to, you pull up the Chrome extension, you shoot your personalized intro, which takes like 15 seconds because you just know your script. You just plug them into the script and then you stitch them together using that insert video button from within SendSpark, and then it's done. And they have a way that you can do it like from their dashboard on the SendSpark website as well. But doing it with the Chrome extension is just super, super easy. And this is the scalability method that I mentioned in the beginning, right? This is how you go from having to take like 3 or 4 or 10 or 15 minutes to shoot the perfect video for every prospect to where you can do it in like straight up 15 seconds. Just boom, personalized intro, stitch it with the templated one. You are done. Move on to the next one. All right. Let's see. Is it showing the wind spectrum screen? I think it is. It's not on my notes, but I'll assume that it is. So little last section just to plug wind spectrum. Again, I'm Jesse Marseille. I lead seller transformation for wind spectrum. And so basically what we do is enablement on demand and everything that's included in enablement. So it's onboarding, it's coaching, it's training, and it's even the infrastructure that your team might need to set up all of its training, right? And so our company was founded by these two fellows, Charles Morton and Dan Lymaster. They are awesome. I work with them every single day and it's a ton of fun. Charles has founded several companies. He's a multi-time CRO and has $3 billion or more in exits. And Dan ran training for Amazon Web Services. So these fellows know their stuff. It's been a joy working with them. And if anybody has any training needs for their company, we would love to talk to you. You can just hit me up on LinkedIn at any time. Thanks, Steve. Good to see you, man. And yeah, Selena, I think I'll pass it back to you and you can go ahead and close us out here.
I was having camera troubles there. Thank you so much for that, Jesse. That was pretty awesome. Really brilliant stuff right there. One thing I want to point out that I remember is that many of you mentioned at the very beginning of the webinar that most of you have been creating entirely personalized videos, which can be pretty time consuming. But today we have seen that with SendSpark, you can still create personalized videos in much less time. So we here at SendSpark have a nice little surprise for you. Jesse, if you can go ahead and put that screen back up whenever you have a second. We have, it's okay, don't worry. We went ahead and we created a discount for you. So all you have to do is apply this discount that will be on the screen momentarily. It's called Camera Ready. You'll just pop it into the promo fields when you create your account, and then you're going to get 33.3% off for the next 3 months. Now, to reap the benefits of this promo, make sure that you do sign up within the next 48 hours. And I will go ahead and copy this code right here in the chat for you. So that way it is easy for you to just copy, paste, and save. So here we go. Great. So I really can't wait for all of you to join, start combining videos, and try out Jesse's brilliant 9-step strategy. So I know that there are probably some questions. So for those of you who have those questions, we're going to go ahead and open up the floor right now. So that way you can pick Jesse's brain.
Yeah, and I already had somebody ask about the 6 steps again. So here they are. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them into the chat.
It looks like there's already a question here. What's a good way to send these intro videos without getting flagged as spam?
Oh, great question. Yeah. So I do not generally send these in emails. I send these as LinkedIn messages. So that's the number one way. You can, if you're rotating domains and you're not worried about like any of the spam issues, then yeah, if you have domains to burn, the reality is, all right, so just a little note about email deliverability, because I have to do a ton of stuff with this. Links, images, they're always going to cause you problems at this point. And the more you send, the more likely you are to get flagged. So basically, you and your company have two options with this, which is that you can accept that it will cause you more domain issues and you just buy more domains and be willing to burn them, or you just don't send them with emails and you send only just basic text emails.
So Jesse, just to kind of piggyback a little bit, we are optimized for like emails as well. Of course, you can send it through LinkedIn and anywhere else. But thankfully, and knock on wood, of course, here, we have not had any issues with getting flagged with these, because the way that from what I'm understanding, the way that our like images look, it looks like a still thumbnail, or it could be an animated thumbnail, depending on what you choose to add into your email. And then you can choose to have the link below it that says watch video, but you don't have to have that. So it will just be like a little GIF, a GIF.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so we haven't had any problems with like getting flagged or people having like any dilemmas or challenges, with things looking spammy because of the videos. So that's one thing I would definitely recommend, is using a thumbnail, not to mention that with our thumbnails, you can customize them. So that also drives a lot of like, open rates, because people are usually like, what is this? Why is my name on here? And they get very curious and want to see the video that's there.
Cool. All right. So you can do them as thumbnails. I haven't even done that with SunSpark. So that's awesome.
I'll teach you.
Very cool. And Mark had a question about the offer. It's just in the chat. I think you would be the one for that, Selena.
Where's the question?
Said, if I'm understanding the offer you presented, it is a discount for a subscription to a more feature-rich version of SunSpark.
That's correct. So what you'll want to do is, when you sign up for SunSpark, you'll want to sign up for Rapid or Team plan. If you need an enterprise plan, just let us know. But yeah, the Rapid plan is the one where you can combine videos together.
And then Judy asked if emails can be sent as bulk through an email service provider. So I assume she means like a templated video just to a bunch of people.
So you can, so if you're going to do it the way that Jesse presented it today, where you're personalizing the very beginning, maybe you're saying someone's name, you want to keep that in mind, because if you're sending that out in bulk to a lot of people, everybody's going to get that one video that says, hey, Jesse, how's it going? Versus it being, different per person for that customized intro. However, there's a couple of things you could do with SunSpark. You could do one very general video as the intro and make it seem personalized as much as possible, and then have your templated content in the second one, and then send that out in bulk. However, we do also have dynamic variables, and we have tons of integrations with many platforms. So as long as you're using any of those platforms, you can use these dynamic variables to send out your video messages in mass, and it'll look personalized. So it's a really, really awesome feature that we have here at SunSpark as well. If you want, I will actually link the page that has all of our integrations. I will do that now. And Jesse, if there are any other questions that are maybe for you, or then you can go ahead.
Not seeing any now, but yeah, this was awesome. I think we're coming up on time. So if anyone has any last ones, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, this was great. Really appreciate everybody's participation. That made it way more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I just linked it. It's in the chat. You could also visit our website and see all of the really cool things that we have, or send me a message. It'll be an intercom, a little button at the bottom right-hand corner of SunSpark. It'll look like a little envelope. Awesome. I think we're good. I don't see any other questions.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, Selena. This was awesome. And I hope everybody has a lovely Friday and the rest of their weekend.
Yes, thank you so much, Jesse. That was great. And everyone else, bye.
Bye.